How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video here in Chemo 365. Well, we got the tabletop review done of the SAM7SF. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link for it right up here in this corner. So now it's time to take it out to the desert and do some shooting. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another beautiful morning out here in the Sloan Desert. It's a balmy 27 degrees, but I finally have Arsenal's SAM7SF out here for its first shots. Now, if you look right up here, you can see that they also sent me out their side rail mount called the SM13. I can't wait to get a magnified optic on here. But I have it on here because they got this U-notch cut out right back here, and it really helps you line up that rear sight with the front sight. So we're going to be running a bunch of Magpul magazines through this guy right here, but I can't wait to see how the muzzle brake feels and if this forged receiver takes up some of that recoil. So I'm going to stop yapping and start shooting. So yeah, guys, it's a little bit cold out here when the scrap wood and the freaking paper out here have frost on them. I don't know if you guys can see that here. I'll get them on my glove. Brr. Now, one of the features of the SAM7SF is the folding stock. So it just clips in and you still have access to the charge handle. Let's rock and roll. And on that note, what I forgot to mention is when that buttstock is folded over to the right hand side, there's also a safety on the left hand side by your thumb that you can turn it off and on with, much like a Galil. So it's folded over, you have access to the charge handle, access to the safety on the left hand side, and because it's a right hand folding stock, you also can keep your side rail mount on. That's right, you're not limited to having a top rail dust cover mount on there. So those are three great benefits. Recoil wise, I think that AK-74 muzzle brake did a good job, but I really think it's all about that barrel. So the Bulgarians are using Steyr based technology to make that barrel. I felt like the barrel whip was a lot less. So with good barrel harmonics, you get less of that flex going up and down and less of it going back into the buttstock and smacking you in the face. You add to that a nice forged milled receiver that absorbs all of that recoil because all of the metal grain is lined up, and you have everything you need for very accurate and light shooting AK-47. Let's get out to Clark County and see how it did in some pretty crappy weather. Well, alright guys, as you can see, I've picked another stunning day to come out here and shoot at Clark County Range. You can see the trees blowing around right here. Winds are blowing maybe 15 to 20 miles per hour. We got some rain coming down and it's a little bit cold. So let's see how I do with the Arsenal in these conditions. So pretty much all the things I really hate: wind, wet rainy weather, and super cold. It was about 35 degrees out there. Hated all that stuff. But anyway, I want to draw your attention to the SM13 side rail mount here because it really utilizes that wasted real estate on the top of the dust cover. That U-notch really increases the sight radius and it really helps you focus on that rear sight and lining it up on the front sight. It really made a big difference even out to 100 yards. So enough about that. It was really fun shooting out there. Let's see how it did accuracy wise. Alright guys, let's see how the SAM-SF did at 25, 50, and 100 yards using iron sights. Keeping in mind, it was a stiff 15 to 20 mile an hour winds, and literally sometimes it was holding the target stand back by 6 inches, and then when the wind shifted, it was just wobbling back and forth like this. So at 25 yards, no problem, you can kind of time your shots because you can see the target stand moving. But when you get to 50, especially at 100 yards, you kind of got to guess a little bit like, oh, the wind stopped, and you got to squeeze off as many rounds as you can, staying as still as possible. So here's what happened at 25 yards, and you're going to see the point of impact is a little bit to the left. I could have adjusted the sights, but guys, honestly, I was cold, it was windy, I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I didn't want to go back and forth with moving the sights. So I have to move it to the left so the sights move more toward the middle. Here's 25 yards. Here it is at 50 yards. And here it is at 100 yards. And for me, that is good shooting. I can't wait to get a magnified optic on that SM13 side rail mount. Now, speaking of that, So here it is here. I really like, again, that notch that they cut out in there. So things to know though, when you set it on the side, you want to have something to even up the balance on that, because you can't put it on the charge handle side. And when you add on that thickness, sometimes it can wobble around like that, and sometimes you may knock it off your stand depending on how careful you're being. Another thing too is the Magpul magazines, because the side rail mount this year, you can't use the coupler. And speaking of the Magpul mags, I didn't have any malfunctions. I shot around 400 to 500 rounds. You got to get those new AK-47 magazines. I really like them, the Gen M3 ones. So I love this side rail mount, but it kind of hinders the couplers for being used on there. One last thing, this grip is awesome, guys. It's better than the military standard grip you get with AKs. The contour is better, the thickness of it. It fits really good in your hand when you're shooting prone or you're shooting off of a bench. But man, guys, if you can get your hands on one of these ARSENAL SAM7SFs, do it. You're not going to regret it. Alright guys, that's the ending of this review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Chemo365, please do. And remember, I'll catch you guys later.